All right, so apparently Bibi Netanyahu is making his 7th visit to the White House to speak to President Trump about the growing anti-Semitism in this country. And I mean, I don't know. I really don't think that there's a growing anti-Semitism in this country. I think that there's just growing awareness that our government is run by a bunch of cowards, a bunch of people that are either PDFs or are protecting PDFs for whatever reason, whatever reason. But listen, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. It doesn't matter how many times the New York Post tries to ignore everything and tell us about how Michael Jackson did all this stuff that at this point we know he probably didn't do and he just got set up for. It doesn't matter if you try to say that, Russia, Russia, Russia. Yeah. It's like so ironic too. When they came up with the dossier and they were trying to, whatever, I'm not going to get into that. The problem in our country, it isn't anti-Semitism. It's lack of accountability. We have a problem with lack of accountability. We have a problem with corruption. We have a problem with trafficking. We have a problem with people getting silenced, whether they're getting deplatformed or shot in the neck. We have a lot of problems, okay? But I think this guy is the biggest one. But let's see what he has to say. I think he's going to be speaking. All right, we're going to have to read it.
לעשות את מה שנדרש כדי להילחם באנטישמיות ולתת את הביטחון הדרוש, את ההבטחה הדרושה לקהילות היהודיות בעולם. וכדאי שיקשיבו לאזהרות שלנו.
Heed your warnings. Making demands. So this guy had JE working as an intelligence asset for him. And we know everything that they did. And now he's making demands to our elected officials to do what? To do a better job covering it up? Cover it up or else? You guys see what's going on here? Like, do you guys understand what this is? You understand how much trouble we're in as a country? They've got the FBI, and I know in Miami, I think it was just regular local police, but they have law enforcement knocking on people's doors, not for hate speech, but for raising awareness to this. Like this guy. Okay, I got an idea, Bibi. You want to stop anti-Semitism? You know what the number one thing you could do to stop anti-Semitism right now? Step down. Turn yourself in, turn back over JE. We know that he didn't off himself. We know that he's not offed. We know that he got out. And I'm pretty sure you're the one that made the call to get him out. That's just my personal opinion. But this guy is evil. Let's see what else we got. No, he didn't say this, did he? Hold on.
I said, Mike, that we are fighting today the battle that the Maccabees fought. They fought for the survival of the Jewish people and the Jewish faith against an enemy that wanted to extinguish us, wipe us out from the face of the earth. We were fighting our battle, but we were also fighting the battle of civilization, because our civilization is based on the Judeo-Christian tradition. And if the Maccabees had...
Whose civilization? Whose civilization? Your civilization is based on Christian tradition? Are you kidding me? Is anybody buying this? And who's doing the extinguishing? So far, the only people I've seen getting extinguished are Palestinians and children. And it's not by people that he's talking about. It's pretty much been him. So what are we talking about here?
And if the Maccabees had failed, there'd be no Judaism. There would be no Judeo-Christian civilization. There would be no Maccabees. There would be no United States. There wouldn't be the civilization of freedom, the respect for our common traditions, our common values. All of that would not happen if it weren't for
What common values? What common values? You see us as goy. We've seen the files. That the non-Jays are goy that only exist to serve Israel. Right? Isn't that what was said? That was your boy. He worked for you.
5 brave brothers. They actually made the whole difference. So that spirit animates these brave soldiers that are here today and their comrades who are fighting in Gaza or in Lebanon or in Iran, wherever is necessary to not only preserve the Jewish nation and the Jewish state, but preserve civilization against the barbarians. The barbarians are out there. They did a horrible thing to us on October 7th.
I think you did a horrible thing to your people on October 7th. I think you knew. And I think you needed it to happen. Just like America allegedly looked the other way for Pearl Harbor to get into World War II, I think all those protests, all that pressure on you to step down, those charges against you, that power you were about to lose, I think you needed that to happen. I believe the IDF soldiers that say that there was a stand-down order, and I believe that they called the Hannibal Directive.
They'll never do it again. But they're doing it against Jews in Sydney and Jews elsewhere in America and elsewhere. This is
where in America is that happening? Like, what is this guy talking about? No, you know what they're doing in America? Our elected officials and some of his boys are trafficking children. They're trafficking children. They're abusing children. They're offing them. They're consuming them in demonic, satanic rituals, worshiping Moloch and Baal. That's what's happening in America. And in large part. Now he's telling our elected officials, making statements in Hebrew, that they need to do something. He demands that they shut us up and silence us, or else what? Or else what? Someone else going to have police show up at their door? Some other files are going to come out? Someone's going to get shot in the neck? What's going to happen, Bibi? What is going to happen?
Our common battle against the barbarians. We have won it here. We're winning it here. We'll win it everywhere. Chag Sameach. Chag Chanukah Sameach L'kulchem. Toda rabba lachem. Toda rabba.
This guy is the barbarian. And look at this. The New York Post trying to do some tabloid lie nonsense, trying to distract people from who the real PDFs were. I think Michael Jackson was innocent. I do.
This stuff is like, I mean, some of these files are 7 years old. And the people engaged in these colloquies are still around. And by the way, I know some of them. Which gets to the other point, which is like, how was Jeffrey Epstein at the center of everything, every global story? I mean, he was going back and forth on Libya. He was going back and forth in the global financial crisis.
And I've been saying that for months. Once I started doing my research and really digging in and trying to follow the money and the shell corporations and the connections, I'm like, this guy's got his hand in everything. In everything, especially the financial crisis of 2008, especially him and the people around him were the biggest benefactors. And I guarantee, I bet you any amount of money that you go back to 9/11 and you dig into the insider trading that went on, you're going to find him there too. I guarantee it. 9/11, the 2008 financial crisis, COVID. He's got his hands all over everything. On top of the money laundering, on top of the arms trafficking, on top of the God knows how many children that were abused and offed. And who was he working for? It wasn't Russia. Why do you think they tried so hard not to release these files? And they didn't even release everything. And not even everything's in the files. It gets so much worse. And this is the problem. And this is why every single person, even if you're not just America, worldwide, everybody needs to rise up. Okay? This is not, don't let them blind you. Don't let them confuse you. Don't let them guilt you or shame you and accuse you of being anti-Semitic. Okay? This is not about Jews. These people aren't the Jews. These are devil-worshipping, demonic, evil entities walking in the skins of humans. These are not Jews. Okay? Don't let them use the Jewish people as a shield. You think Netanyahu and JE are sitting around with their feet up reading the Torah? Are you kidding me? I don't think so. This is good versus evil. There is no in between, okay? I got news for you. If you're looking, I've been saying this and I'm going to keep saying it. If you're one of these people that are making excuses and you are looking the other way, you, my friend, are on the side of evil. You are complicit. And it's not my place to judge you. Not my place to call you guilty. But I wouldn't want to be you on Judgment Day. I'll tell you that much. People need to wake up. You need to stop being scared. You need to wake up. You need to speak up. And you need to pray.
Like, there's really
he was deeply involved in the global financial crisis. He was actually selling CDOs.
Okay, so can you just, I mean, there's so much here, and I hope when I'm, we're in the same place, we can go through this in much greater detail, but can you just tell us what we know about that, Jeffrey Epstein's involvement or intersection with the global financial crisis? What's that?
Well, the intersection with the global financial crisis specifically is a wild story that, to be truly told, you need to put the evidence on screen as well. But the short version is that he had a company called Liquid Funding Limited that was domiciled in the Bahamas, that was partially owned by Bear Stearns. And Bear Stearns, is where he had come up for a long time. And Liquid Funding.
Yeah. He was working Bear Stearns in the late 70s, early 80s, and he was managing the account of Edgar Bronfman. he had to step down over some shady financial dealings that involved one of Bronfman's companies, I believe. And then when the 2008 financial crisis happened, he was all buddy-buddy with Jess Staley. Jess Staley was, I believe, in charge of the asset management for Chase. You know, assets as in houses. And the two of them did pretty well.
Limited was selling CDOs, the same types of CDOs that eventually caused the global financial crisis. It was capitalized at, I believe, $100 million and allowed to sell 20 billion with a B of CDOs. And I actually just was looking at that statistic earlier today because this is the craziest story. And that little CDO factory that Jeffrey Epstein was running tied into Bear Stearns. And if you recall, Bear Stearns was one of the first to collapse, right? That shut down in the months directly preceding Bear Stearns starting to collapse. And Jeffrey Epstein redeemed all of those CDOs, all of those assets. That's, the terms are, I don't know the technical terms for what he did, but basically he made a run on the bank on those exact assets that were the exact problem. And he was tied into the exact bank that was financially distressed. And then he wound that whole company, Liquid Funding Limited, up and disappeared. And later, JP Morgan, the bank that he later worked with after, Bear Stearns was his early banking career.
Yeah, with Jess Staley. What, JP Morgan, I mean.
And then he later was doing all of his money laundering and banking and referring of people at JP Morgan. They came in, swooped up Bear Stearns for pennies on the dollar. They also later spun Liquid Funding Limited back up. There's a whole, there's a very overt financial paper trail that Jeffrey Epstein was better acquainted with the problem than almost anyone in the world because he was deeply enmeshed in Bear Stearns and knew the leadership of Bear Stearns very well. And he understood CDOs and he was selling CDOs. And then he just so happens to wind his whole shop up and close it down and redeem it all right at the moment when things are about to go bust. So that's a wild rabbit hole and it's very interesting. But
I mean, what is it? I mean, that suggests, well, it doesn't suggest, it's like direct evidence of, if I'm assuming we can verify what you're saying, that like the biggest events in the world are actually not quite as organic or accidental as we're led.
I don't think they were accidents at all. Like I said, if they release the unredacted 9/11 files, there is no doubt in my mind that you are going to be able to connect Jeffrey Epstein to the insider trading that went on.
To believe, and that, this is like puppet master stuff. I mean, it is. I don't know what to say. I don't want this to be true, but that's what it looks like.
You know they eat babies. That is not bullshit.
Remember how crazy everybody thought she was?
It's not just the dogs and the cats, not just the pets.
It's not just the dogs and the cats. They're full-on vampires. And everybody still thinks I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. They're full-on vampires. They love the taste of human flesh and they drink human blood. They do, Tucker. Stop staring at me like that.
You're freaking me out, man. Because you spent your life in the entertainment business, so I think you have some authority on this.
If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here, then maybe you should not live here. I mean, that is a real thing. Yeah, I know that we've now grown up in a society that says that you deserve to live where you grew up, but the reality is that the history of America is almost literally the opposite of that. The history of America is you go to a place where there is opportunity. And if the opportunities are limited here and they're not changing, then you really should try to think about other places where you have better opportunities. If you're a young person and you can't afford to live here.
Oh boy. One day, very soon, I'm going to make an entire episode completely dedicated to this piece of shit. You guys should probably look out for that one. You think I ripped into Dan Bongino hard? Wait till I get my hands on this fucking piece of shit. I'm gonna rip through him like butter. The
two Kevins, very good. Yeah, they're both very good. The two Kevins, very good.
Mr. President, is Vice President Vance hosting a gathering this evening to talk about how to respond to the Epstein situation?
Is he working on what?
Is he hosting some kind of gathering of top advisors this evening to talk about how to respond?
Look at him laughing. That's Howard Lutnick, okay? That's one of Epstein's buddies. That was one of his buddies. That was one of his neighbors. That's somebody. And he's laughing about it. They're laughing in our faces. They hate us. They think that we're cattle and we exist purely to serve them. To feed them, to pay them, to get screwed by them. Disgraceful. Trump really is the biggest disappointment in the history of America. He's going to go down as a traitor, and he's going to go down being known as Bibi's bitch. At this point, I think he might have blown Bubba. I'm not going to lie. I kind of think, like, with everything that's going on and everything happening, I think maybe he did blow Bubba. In fact, when the Clintons go and they testify, if they testify, I mean, I wouldn't really expect much because they are like two of the biggest liars on the face of the earth. But I would believe that. If Clinton comes clean and tells us that, yeah, I had some sexual relations with Donnie, I would totally believe it. I would believe. Because this guy is just, disgrace.
I could ask you that question. I don't know of it, but I think, here's the man right here.
I saw it reported today, and it's completely fake news. We're not meeting to talk about the Epstein situation, and I think the reporter who reported it needs to get better sources.
J.D. Vance is probably the Antichrist. He's definitely up there. He looks like a fucking MK Ultra Nepo baby who was probably born straight out of Michael Aquino's ass. Peter Thiel's little pet project. Peter Thiel, who was another one, had some contacts with Epstein. Now putting out the software to freaking spy on all of us and put it through AI. Probably got me on a freaking kill list right now. Fuck J.D. Vance. Oh, you know the whole Charlie Kirk thing? Just saying. Speaking of Charlie Kirk, let's see what he had to, and I'm just scrolling right now. Look at this. I'm just scrolling. I'm not like going through all these different clips that I planned out ahead of time. I'm just scrolling. Let's see.
Lies that Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that
notice he didn't say Russia
and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis.
Oh my God. I watched this today. Yo, shout out to Tim Dillon. For real. I love this guy.
What is the religious angle here? I'll tell you. I'm glad you asked. When you listen to Jeffrey Epstein talk, he's talking about transhumanism. He wants to seed the world with his seed. He obviously doesn't believe in the concept of the soul. He doesn't believe in anything like that. He believes that you can sculpt humanity. There was a lot of transgender talk. And again, I've obviously no problem with legitimate trans people, of which there are not as many as you'd think if you went through a college campus, like actual trans people. But Jeffrey Epstein clearly liked the idea that gender is very malleable and that you could, and lots of things in life are malleable. And he wanted clearly to build another body, and he was obsessed with scientists, and he probably wanted to upload his consciousness, and he was a transhumanist. Not that different from things that, Elon Musk and people like that have said.
I'm glad he said that. All these rich and powerful billionaires and these evil people in office, they really do. They want to play God. They want to defy God. They want to pretend they're God, and they want to live forever.
It's humanity's destiny to merge with artificial intelligence, and we can engage in some type of eugenics. This was all Epstein stuff. He had all these creepy scientists that were at the island. They were doing all this fucked up shit. And he was also engaging in these conversations. So Jeffrey Epstein clearly believed that humanity was a scientific endeavor. And I want to bring up Luciferianism, please. Bring up Luciferianism.
again, I don't think that he looked at it like a scientific endeavor. I think he wanted to be God. He had a God complex. It really is as simple as that. He enjoyed. He got off on the power. It wasn't just the perverted aspects of it. It was the power. It was the control. It was having somebody's life, an innocent life, in his hands, and he could do whatever he wanted with it. That goes way, way deeper than just this idea that it's like science-based. It's not. It's demonic.
Bring up the definition of Luciferianism. Let's bring up Luciferianism. It is a philosophy or belief system that views Lucifer not as the devil, but as a symbol of enlightenment, independence, and pursuit of knowledge. Folks, we're getting somewhere. Folks, I think we're getting somewhere. It emphasizes individual responsibility, critical thinking, the balance of light and dark, often drawing from Gnosticism or occult traditions. Unlike Satanism, which may focus on indulgence or rebellion, Luciferianism focuses on self-deification. I am God. Wisdom and personal growth. Jeffrey Epstein and many in the ruling class are Luciferians. They believe, whether it's aesthetic or not, they believe all of these things to be true. They don't believe there's any moral code outside what they can get away with. They believe that they are deities and gods and that they should be able to upload their consciousness and potentially live forever, and that you are biological waste that they should be able to fuck and throw in an ocean for sharks. This is true.
Thank you. That is what I've been saying. We're just goy. We're just trash. We exist to serve them how they want to be served. And then when they don't see a use for us, they could dispose of us. And I got news for you. There is one little part that they are right about when the God in themselves aspect, okay? Except they don't have it. They aren't the ones that have it. We are. We do. Okay? If you are good, even if you've sinned in the past, which we all have, we're all sinners. But if you are good and you repent and you accept God, you accept Jesus, and you have that in your heart and you believe it and you know it to be true, then you have the Holy Spirit inside of you. You have the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. The Father, God the Creator, the Son, Jesus Christ, and the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the part of God that's inside of all of us. And they don't have it. That's why they hate us. That's why they're doing all this crap that they do. They resent us. They hate us for it. That's why they want to live forever. When we die, we get to go to heaven. We get to go with our Creator. When they die, they're not coming. So they're just trying to freaking lash out at us, lash out at God, and just make the most of what they have. And it's evil.
It's absolutely true. Now, they might not say it. They might not go, I'm a Luciferian. Now, some of them will. But they're obsessed with Moloch, who's a god of child sacrifice. They're obsessed with Baal and all these things. They're obsessed with demonology. They're obsessed with this idea of becoming their own god. They're obsessed with child sacrifice. They're obsessed with engineering humanity through things like eugenics. Hitler was an occultist. A lot of people around him were occultists. A lot of people in Los Angeles are occultists at much higher levels of the business, you know, that you hear about. You go back to the 60s. They made a lot of great music, whatever. But there was a fair amount of occultism then. More cults come out of, you know, Northern California. More retards come out of Southern California. I always mix that up. More cults come out of Northern California. A lot of those occultists.
I've never been to California. I wouldn't know.
Military, Michael Aquino. This is all very obvious.
Well, I just brought up
on this show.
Were you now?
It's all out in the open right now.
I got to start watching him more. I just started watching. I've in the past I only watched Tim Dillon on the Joe Rogan podcast, and I always thought he was great. I didn't realize he had his own show, and then I got introduced to it not that long ago, and I love it. So yeah, definitely check out Tim Dillon. Guy's hysterical. He knows what he's talking about. Awesome. Oh, look at this. Ghislaine Maxwell's 10-year-old deposition. Oh.
Can you list for me all the girls that you have met and brought to Jeffrey Epstein's house that were under the age of 18?
At the Foreign Foundation.
I could only recall my family members that were there, and I could not make a list of anyone else because that list never happened. But I can take off. I'm talking about
look at her.
Working.
Look at how scared she looks. She know, like, you know, like we see right through you. We could see right through her, and we could see through all of them. All you have to do is open your eyes. What's that old saying? Open your eyes and you will see. You could see through. You know the difference. That's why people follow me. People hear me talk. They see the look on my face. They hear the passion in my voice, and they know that I'm telling the truth, that I mean what I say, and that I believe in my words. That's why they follow Charlie Kirk. That's why they don't follow Erica Kirk. And that's why right now we know she's full of shit. Aside from, you know, obviously the gift of having 20/20 hindsight in these issues.
For Jeffrey Epstein, right. Can you list all the girls that you found for Jeffrey Epstein that were under the age of 18 to come work for him in any capacity?
Check the form of foundation.
So I didn't find girls. I didn't have them. You choose the word.
Well, no, you don't choose the word. If you have a question, ask it.
List all of the girls that you met and brought to Jeffrey Epstein's home for the purposes of employment that were.
See, this is why I hate our justice system, because it is no justice. It's just a game. It's just a game. It's all politics. It's all connections. It's all technicalities. Who knows who could twist the law and do this? All this, oh, you don't have to speak. No, every single person, when you get to the stage where I'm not talking about just the investigation, but when you have to go on trial, it should be public. The whole world should be able to see, in a case like this, how they're reacting, what they're saying. That's what we should be using AI for, by the way, to cross-reference their words against their history and their own words and what we know and other people's words. Then we could build credibility reports. We could find out, identify the lies, actually hold them accountable for it. Not like Kash Patel, who could just get on the stand and just say whatever crap he wants. Just literally just sit there lying under oath. And then, God forbid, you call his girlfriend and, you know, a name. He gets sued for $5 million. Like, what kind of justice is this? What kind of system do we have? There's no justice. There's no real rule of law. It's a rule of tyranny. It's tyranny. And it's unholy. It's ungodly. It's evil.
Under the age of 18.
Check the form of foundation.
I've already characterized what my job was, which was to find people, adults, professional people, to do the types of jobs that I listed before. Pool person.
Yeah. Is that what Ghislaine Maxwell was doing, flying people back and forth in the helicopter? She's trying to find the pool guy. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah.
House person, chef, pilot. But I'm talking about individuals under the age of 18, not adult persons. Individuals under the age of 18. I only hire.
So let me ask her, which one of those roles did they recruit Virginia Giuffre for? To clean the pool? To be the pilot? To be the chef? She was like 15, 16 years old. Fair questions.
I looked for people, tried to find people to fill professional jobs in professional situations. Under the age of 18, correct? I think we've established was 17 and I'm sorry, go ahead. Is she the only individual that you met for purposes of hiring someone for Jeffrey that was under the age of 18?
Check the form and foundation. Mischaracterizes their testimony.
So I didn't hire people. I met people. Were hired. Yes, you did. I said met. Yes. So I interviewed people for jobs that were professional people for professional things, and I'm not aware of anyone aside from who clearly was a masseuse aged 17. But that's, you know.
All right.
At least that's how.
We don't have to listen to any more of this. But I will say this. I believe that they are trying to call her to testify. And, I mean, you could see here, she has no credibility. Not that she ever really did, but, like, testify? What is she going to testify for? What, to try to paint the narrative? What, she's going to try to tell us that he was working for Russia? And what, just put it on the record? Oh, she testified under oath that he was working for Russia, so I guess that must be true. Like, I can't wait to see how many people actually try to like push that on. Oh, Jimmy, I heard that he was working for Russia. Yeah, listen, I'm just telling you right now. I don't care who you are, friend, family, whatever. I will rip you a fucking asshole like you've never had before. In front of everybody. In front of your mother, in front of your kids. Like, at this point, I don't care who you are. This is good and evil, okay? I'm not holding back anymore. I'm not holding back. I've already told, you know, like my mom, my sister, my girl, I'm like, listen, you probably shouldn't bring me in public for a while because the kid gloves are off, okay? I don't, when it comes to this level of evil, there's no excuses. There's no excuses. If I see somebody making excuses, trying to look the other way, trying to lie to themselves, I'm going to make my position perfectly clear. I'm going to make sure that they hear the truth, and then I'm going to let them know what I think about them. And that is how it's going to be. Now, my girl's telling me that that's not in the way of Jesus, that I should be trying to bring people closer to Jesus and be nicer. And you know what? She's probably right. And maybe that's my sin. Maybe that's my flaw. What makes me human. Because I'm not perfect. I do make mistakes. But I believe that God kept me alive for a reason. I believe I'm here for a reason, and I believe he wants me to expose the evil and expose the corruption. And part of exposing the evil and the corruption is confronting the people that are complicit. Confronting and holding accountable the people that are allowing this to happen. Because make no mistake, at this point in time, if you're not speaking up against this, you better have a damn good reason. Because I consider you complicit.
How far we know that I can think of that fulfilled any professional capacity for Jeffrey.
List all the people under the age of 18 that you interacted with at any of Jeffrey's properties.
I'm not aware of anybody that I interacted with. Other than I was 17 at this point.
Look at how afraid she is. I'm glad she was afraid. Oh, it's not over.
I have not any idea exactly of the youngest adult employee that I hired for Jeffrey.
When you say adult employee, did you ever hire someone that was under the age of 18?
Never.
What a piece of shit. All right, so this says, this is how the Italians welcome the Israeli Olympic team outside of their housing. Everyone knows about them now. A global fury is breaking. Oh, look at this. We were just talking about this before.
There's no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
The information they have is limited. Yeah, we've seen how limited your information was, Cash.
That we have.
That we have. Meaning, they didn't let me in the big boy room. They didn't let me look at the files. Yeah, really? Director of the FBI?
There's no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
You want to know? You want to hear about no credible information in regards to Kash Patel? I'll tell you. There has been no credible information from Kash Patel and the FBI in regards to the Charlie Kirk assassination. As a matter of fact, I would love to personally question Kash Patel under oath about the Charlie Kirk case. I would, oh my God, I would have a ball. I would wear a suit. I'd put on a tie. I would comb my hair. I might even shave my beard. I would love to ask this guy a couple questions. Yo, you guys don't know. You guys don't know. And I'm telling you, they ever shut down my account, I swear to God, they shut down my account. I'm showing up to Washington with a megaphone. I am not going to be silenced. They are going to have to kill me. And we are going to change the world. We are going to change the world. And I got no problem being the martyr. I swear to God, I'm not even kidding. If it has to be one of us, it could be me. It could be me. As long as the world is a better place for everybody after I'm gone, I'm happy with that. But we need to change. And that's why I go so hard on everybody and I say the things that I do about people. And you know, I am a little rough around the edges. And maybe I am a little too confrontational. But it's because I mean everything that I'm saying. I am willing to die for this. So don't come to me about your fucking job. Or you're afraid you're going to be labeled antiseptic or whatever. Oh, listen. I'm sorry. And to some of you, I know I've had long friends and family members that take offense. And like, look, I get it. I'm not, everything I say, don't try to take everything personal. There are definitely levels to this. You know what I mean? There are definitely levels. But there is a good percentage of you that it's kind of hard for me to respect you anymore. And that's just the truth.
Pedophiles at this point. By redemption, they are legit.
And you know what? Because I've gone so hard on this guy, and I still think he's controlled op. I'm not going to lie. I do. Actually, I'm not even going to play this because I just think he's controlled op. I can't. All right, now let's see. Let's end it on a high note. Let's look at John Kiriakou, a former CIA officer who actually had to serve time in prison for exposing certain things about the CIA, and I believe in regards to the torture program. But that's a whole other story in itself. I'll probably cover that in the future. But let's see what he has to say about our not-so-greatest ally.
If they want to kill you, they won't like just do a close-in hit. they'll blow up the entire city block where you live. They'll kill 1,000 people just to get you. And they don't care. And then they say, what are you going to do about it? You're going to go to the International Court of Justice?
Do they really do this?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Did you ever interact with them?
Yes.
And how did you find them to be?
Miserable. About the Israelis.
And we're going to end it there. Remember, individual accountability. Individual accountability. If you haven't already, please like the video. Apparently, I got some people telling me I don't say this enough and they think that it's hurting my reach. So please, like, share, subscribe. You know, being a small growing channel, everything helps. I appreciate all the support that I've gotten from everybody. And we got to keep doing this. And like I always say, remember, be kind, be grateful, and do something nice for somebody today. Have a good day, guys.